I do, yes. I think it's a concept that's outmoded. It comes from a different era, the Cold War, and an era before that when diplomats needed to be protected in war zones. I think we live in an era when officials of foreign governments are well protected, and that would be the bonus of it. But the negative is just too large. There's widespread abuse of the immunity concept throughout the world, particularly in the UK. And we have it here in Ireland as well. We have a number of cases of domestic abuse of staff working at embassies. We had a case yesterday for a Gulf state embassy where 3 Filipino workers were given €80,000 in compensation. And this is only one of a number of cases. And I think it's been abused on all levels, both the trivial, the parking fines, traffic offences, but the much more serious, using embassies as compounds for smuggling of weapons, spying, and in the case of domestic abuse and virtual slavery of staff working in embassies.
Mr. Hoare,
I think we could do without it. I think it should be.
Mr. Hoare, I suppose the defence of it is that it is a quid pro quo, and that if we started denying people diplomatic immunity, then our diplomats abroad would lose it as well.
Indeed. And diplomatic immunity is not something that started with the Cold War. Diplomatic immunity develops in its modern form in the 15th century in Italy, and it was first codified in 1815 at the Congress.
And what is good about it?
What is good about it is it protects me as a diplomat. It means that the local authorities can't bring pressure upon me, they can't raid my house, they can't raid the embassy offices, and they can't interfere with communications. They can't interfere with diplomatic bags and other forms of communication as well. That is the purpose of it. It's not to prevent people from being dealt with by the local criminal law. That is an incidental side effect of it. And to throw out the whole arrangement because a very small number of people, and frankly 14 serious crimes out of 21,500 people is not very much. There are other things that go on. But it is a relatively small number of people who break the rules. And to throw out the whole arrangement because of that would, I think, be a great mistake. I would have found it very difficult, I think, in Pyongyang, in North Korea, not to have had cover.
Eamon Delaney, that's a really good point, isn't it? I mean, diplomatic immunity is there, so that our diplomats and diplomats around the world can get on with their job.
Yeah, absolutely. In Korea, that would be a very valid case where James was, also in war zones. But these are very exceptional. I mean, we live in an era now of intense communications and surveillance and accountability. Governments can't just treat foreign officials badly. And I just don't think we need this old concept, and James has described just how old it is, to protect that. We can have officials. I mean, aid workers in Afghanistan are not subject to immunity. Aid workers working in Syria, and they're doing serious work in serious danger. So why should diplomats, because they have this ancient ritual of Your Excellency and the diplomatic bag and the diplomatic compound. I mean, I've been there myself, I've done it. And incidentally, I've done it in New York when, as though James says there's very few offenders, it's the range of offences and the feeling of indulgence. So New Yorkers and Americans would feel, as many Londoners would feel, why should these people go around with CD plates in their car and be exempt from the law? We just don't need this arcane ritual, and it creates a lot of resentment and it creates serious criminality. I do think in cases like James has described, we could have an extra form of protection, but I think that would exist.